Welcome guys! So now that we have planted our tomato seedlings, let's take a look at how to care for them to get the best harvest and avoid pests naturally. We'll take a look at watering, feeding with fish fertilizer, companion flowers, staking, and mulching. And do subscribe so we can continue doing gardening topics together. So as far as watering goes, tomatoes love water, but at the same time they don't like what's called wet feet, where they're just sitting in water all the time. So you'll want to make sure that they dry out between watering sessions. And to do this, you'll want to reach in and just check to see that the soil has dried out just a little bit. And once you've confirmed that, then you're going to go ahead and you water, and you do so generously. If you're doing it in a container, you'll want to make sure that you're watering until you can see that the water runs out the bottom of it. And if you're watering in flower beds, then you want to make sure that you're watering it at least to an inch of depth. Of course, if it's raining in your area, then you'll need to do that less. So it's just a matter of what's going on in your particular garden. Now, as far as feeding goes, I had shown you in the previous video how to apply Epsom salt, and it adds magnesium, which helps them a lot. And I'll link that video at the end so you can always go and take a look to see how that was done. But today we're going to be looking at using a fish fertilizer, and this is going to be adding nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. It's in a 5:1:1 ratio. Here I have my 2-gallon containers, and what we're going to do is we're going to measure it in. To be honest, it's not the most pleasant smelling thing that you'll have to deal with, but it really helps your plants. And for each gallon, if you're doing it in the flower bed, then it's going to be 2 tablespoons to 1 gallon. And since these are 2-gallon containers, I'm basically adding in 4 of them. And you want to put it in part of the way, the water that is, and then you give it a good shake, and then you top it up to make sure that it's mixing in properly for you. And then once you've done that, you're going to go ahead and start applying it. Just as you see I'm doing here, you just go in and water fairly generously, and they're going to really love it. And if you ever see like the leaves turning a little bit yellow, that could be an indication that they need nitrogen. So this is definitely going to help if you have any issues like that coming up. So that takes care of feeding them. Now we look at companion flowers. And these actually help to prevent like nematodes, like marigolds. These are good plants to use. And they also bring good insects to the garden. That's going to be beneficial. This one's a little baby right here. That's the one I got at my supply store. But, there are different types of marigold that you can use. And, just do what works for you. After a while, it's going to get big and branch out and look really nice. And you'll definitely enjoy seeing that as well. Now, as far as staking goes, you'll definitely want to support your tomato plants. You may be using a tomato cage, or perhaps a trellis, or even you can use the little stakes that they may have at your supply center. And the ones that I have here, they're actually made of plastic, and so they're pretty flexible, but they still offer good support to your tomato plants. So you have different options that you can use. If the tomatoes are indeterminate, then they will definitely need to be staked. The ones that are determinate, you can just watch and see how they're going, and you can make your decision on that. But the earlier you stake, the better, to avoid any root damage. Now, to secure it to the stake, you'll want to get something that's flexible like yarn, or some people even use old nylons, the clean ones of course, and then you put it across as you see I just did, and then you tie it at the back to secure it. And as the plant grows larger, then you want to keep doing more as it goes further up on the stake. And this gives it that good support so that when your fruits come in, they have that support, so they'll be encouraged to put more out. And you can see that it's already starting to put some little flowers out there. So I'm sure this will make them very happy. Now, as far as mulching goes, mulching, you have different things you can use. You can use like cypress mulch, you can use straw. There are different kinds. Some of them are colored. I'm not too much in favor of those. Now, when you're going to mulch, if you see like little suckers like these, you can always take them off because they're just pulling away extra energy from the plant, which it could otherwise use to put fruits out. So you could take those out. And once you've done that, then you're going to go ahead and get your mulch and start covering. And you want to make sure that you cover it sufficiently, but always leave a little space just around the stem of your plant, because what that does is it actually discourages insects from getting easy access to going up on the plant. And you just go on and you go ahead and you pack it in, as you can see me doing here. Little by little until it gets in there. And again, just make sure that you're avoiding putting it directly at the stem. And as far as the edges go, you don't want it to go all the way over to the side, because that way they may get washed out if it rains a lot or excess watering takes place. So just make sure that you leave a little edge. That's a good allowance to have for it. Just like I'm showing you right there, make sure you have that little area off there. And of course, if you're doing it in your flower beds, usually about 1 inch to 2 inches of mulch should be sufficient. And you'll want to add some water to it, after you've done that, to make sure it has a good soak. So that way it doesn't wick away the water from the soil, because that'll cause it to get dried out. So I hope that this helped you. Leave me your comments about how you're doing in your garden this spring. And I do thank you so much for watching.